What did Gandalf fear more than Sauron? For most in Middle-earth, Sauron's name alone can freeze the bravest heart. But deep in Moria's shadow, Gandalf faces a terror so raw it shakes him, a fear that breaks him, if only once. There was a rumor and a fear that had walked in dark places, and the dwarves said that it was a shadow of terror that dwelt in the halls of Moria. It had a name. Gandalf's voice sank to a whisper. A Balrog. A Balrog has come. The wizard who stood unbowed before Sauron, who never blinked at the Nazgul, is brought low by something older, something the world itself has nearly forgotten. What vision flickered in that fire and shadow to haunt him more than the Dark Lord ever could? Most never realize. Courage may turn aside many shadows, but some darkness runs deeper than memory, woven through the bones of the world itself. Before Sauron, before the Ring, before even the sun and moon, there was a force in Middle-earth more devastating than anything you've seen on screen. To understand Gandalf's deepest dread, we must journey backward, past the Ring, past the rise of Sauron, into the first discord and the birth of Morgoth's fiery shadows. Follow the trembling torchlight. Let it guide us into Middle-earth's oldest darkness. In the end, you may find the true threat has always worn a different face. It began before memory, when Eru Ilúvatar, the One, breathed the Ainur into song. Spirits whose music spun the world from nothing. Among them, one burned brightest. Morgoth, mightiest and most willful. But the music was fractured. Morgoth rebelled, splintering the harmony, and those who followed him, once radiant Maia, were dragged into shadow, twisted into balrogs, fire-bound spirits, now shrouded in darkness. In the wars of the First Age, the balrogs became Morgoth's fury made flesh. Wherever they passed, hope withered. Swiftly they came, and in the house of Melkor the balrogs made a ring about them with whips of flame. Kingdoms shattered, heroes hunted, the world dragged to the brink of ruin. Most of these demons fell when Morgoth's fortress tumbled, but a few vanished, slipping into the bones of the earth, waiting for an age when darkness would rise again. In the long silence that followed, Sauron, Morgoth's greatest servant, learned a colder art, the power of order and control. His genius was not for chaos, but for seduction. The rings of power were his masterpiece, crafted to corrupt hearts with promises of greatness, forging an empire not for annihilation, but domination. But the Balrog in Moria is not a servant of order, nor a subtle corrupter. It is the memory of a more ancient ruin, a shadow before strategy, a hunger before empire. When it awakened, it didn't seek followers or parley. It raised Khazad-dûm out of primal hatred, leaving behind only ashes and myth. It wants nothing but the end of all song. So why does this matter for Gandalf? Because he, too, is Maia, spirit and flame, wearing mortal shape. He was sent to Middle-earth to shepherd the free peoples against Sauron's cunning. Against Sauron, hope is a strategy. Against the Balrog, hope is a candle flickering in a storm. Gandalf's words carry the ancient weight of his calling. I am a servant of the secret fire, wielder of the flame of Anor. But what could make one Maia, who has faced the eye of Sauron, tremble before another? What secret terror does the Balrog awaken that even Sauron cannot match? Let's go deeper, because here, at the crossroads of history and myth, hope and horror entwine. Tolkien scholar Verlin Flieger puts it simply: Gandalf's wisdom lies not in foresight, but in his understanding of the limits of his own vision. He is, more than any other figure, the agent of hope in Tolkien's universe. Not hope that events will go as he wishes, but hope that meaning can be found in whatever comes. It's this fierce, stubborn hope, the refusal to let meaning dissolve, that powers Gandalf's courage. But what happens when hope itself is pushed to the edge? In Tolkien's world, no shadow is born. Every darkness begins as light. Melkor, brightest among the Ainur, yearned to remake the world in his own image. In his pride, he shattered harmony and pulled the lesser spirits, the Maia, down with him, warping them into balrogs. Spirits once radiant, now bound in fire and shadow. The balrogs were more than monsters. They were Morgoth's wrath, given shape, heralds of ruin, old as the first dawn. The one that lurked in Moria carried a hatred ancient and undimmed, a memory of the world before sun or moon. Sauron too was Maia, clever and subtle, a maker and a schemer. But the balrogs let go of craft, of plan, of hope. All that remained was their master's will to tear and consume. They were there as the two trees fell, Tolkien's original light snuffed, not out of strategy, but spite. They are the kind of beings that hate the light, not because it wounds them, but because it exists. When Gandalf stands upon the bridge, he confronts more than a beast. He faces the echo of what he might have become had he surrendered to the same abyss. This is not just a struggle for survival, it is kin against kin, a test of what endures when greatness is twisted beyond all recognition. But this is only the threshold, for if Sauron's evil is a net, the Balrogs is a storm, older, more elemental, a darkness before design. Sauron's genius is seduction, not savagery. The One Ring, his masterstroke, ensnares by promise, not by force. One ring to rule them all, and in the darkness bind them. He weaves power like a web, subtle, patient, mechanical. His armies march in step. His eye sweeps relentlessly across the land. Sauron dreams not of ending the world, but of owning every will within it. The Balrog is his opposite, a servant of chaos, not control. It burns for the joy of burning. It exists to unmake. No armies, no palaces, no followers, just ruin in its wake. With Sauron, Gandalf plays a game of wits, hope against despair. With the Balrog, there is no contest, only the raw collision of being and unbeing, light against the void. Creation in Middle-earth is slow, delicate, sacred. Destruction is immediate and absolute. The Balrog can erase in an instant what took ages to build. As Verlin Flieger reminds us, evil in Tolkien's world is never a separate principle. It is the shadow cast by the light, parasitic, unable to exist on its own. The Balrog is not an equal, but a remnant, darkness feeding on the memory of the world's original fire. But if evil is only ever a shadow, who stands as the flame? The answer waits in Gandalf and the mystery of the secret fire. Gandalf's words on the bridge, "I am a servant of the secret fire, wielder of the flame of Anor. You cannot pass," are not mere bravado, but the deepest truth of his mission. The secret fire, Tolkien's spark of creation, the living will of Eru Ilúvatar, burns at the heart of all that endures. Gandalf's magic is not domination but illumination, not conquest but care. His is the defiance of light in the face of unmaking. A distant echo of this burden rings through the road by Cormac McCarthy. A father and son, walking through ashen ruin, hold fast to one command: carry the fire. That fire, fragile, flickering, almost forgotten, is hope's last stand against annihilation. Gandalf is such a bearer. His laughter with hobbits, his small joys, his fireworks on festival nights. These are not distractions from his power, but its very source. In the shadows, he holds tight to the light. But the Balrog, once his kin, is now only the appetite to devour. Their clash is no longer about spells or swords. It is the raw struggle between what creates and what consumes, what remembers and what forgets. Here, Gandalf faces his truest test, not only to save his friends, but to stand as the final bulwark between meaning and the void. Stay with me, because in this battle, the fate of all stories, all memory, hangs by a single thread of flame. The duel is mythic, a plunge from Moria's deepest dark to Xiraxagil's storm-crowned peak, fought over endless days. From the lowest dungeon to the highest peak, I fought him, until at last I threw down my enemy and smote his ruin upon the mountainside. Morgoth, long ago, poured his own power into the bones of the world. His corruption seeps like poison through rock and river. The Balrog is the echo of that first discord, a remnant, not just a beast, but a fracture in the music of creation itself. It is a living wound, a threat to every harmony Gandalf is sworn to defend. This battle is not only for survival, it is the oldest conflict, order against chaos, making against unmaking. Lightning splits the mountain, shadows wrestle with flame. Two ancient powers, each older than time, collide, not only for their own fates, but for the soul of Middle-earth. And as the fire gutters and the darkness recoils, what is left is not triumph, but the high cost of holding back the void. At last, Gandalf's fear resolves into something almost tender, an ache not for his own life, but for the fragile miracle of Middle-earth itself. In the Balrog's burning shadow, he glimpses the last living remnant of Morgoth's original wound, a threat that endangers not only his mission, but the deep grammar of creation, the hidden logic that allows meaning to bloom in the world. Sauron's evil, for all its menace, can be unmade. Its heart is the ring, a thing that can be cast into fire. The Balrog, by contrast, is malice without a vessel, destruction woven into its very being. Where Sauron binds, the Balrog unravels. Its evil is not something you can destroy, but something you must outlast. Gandalf's fall and return are not merely the beats of an adventure, but the pulse of the universe itself trembling against the edge of the void. His resurrection as the White is not a restoration, but a divine defiance, a new creation whispered by Eru through the fabric of death and fear. Naked I was sent back, for a brief time, until my task is done. Tolkien, with the wisdom of one who had tasted both despair and wonder, wrote, "He was sent by a mere prudent plan of the angelic valor, but authority had taken up this plan and enlarged it at the moment of its failure." There is a quiet cost here. The Gandalf we knew, the grey pilgrim with his sly jokes and quiet pipe, dies atop that mountain, transformed. What returns is the White, less fettered, more luminous, a vessel emptied of self in order to be filled with purpose. But such victories are always bittersweet, and in the Balrog, Gandalf sees not only an ancient enemy, but a possible future, a reflection of what any Maia, any soul, might become when power eclipses compassion. His truest victory, then, is not the defeat of a monster, but the gentle refusal of the shadow within. Yet the story does not end at Xiraxagil's peak, because the darkness Gandalf faced is not a relic of distant legend. It's the entropy at work in every world, including our own. Michael Ender's The Never-Ending Story dreams of a land called Fantasia, slowly consumed by the nothing, a force that does not rage or conquer, but simply erases memory, beauty, meaning itself. The Balrog is kin to that emptiness. It does not want to rule, it wants to unmake, to return all song to silence. Gandalf's stand, then, is not only for victory, but for meaning, for the fragile, stubborn persistence of order and wonder in the face of annihilation. His fight is the fight we all inherit, to keep the light burning when the night grows deep, and to remember that even the smallest hope, carried forward, is an act of cosmic resistance. Tolkien's world is built on the struggle between creation and entropy. Morgoth's discord didn't destroy Ilúvatar's music. It made it deeper, more haunted, beauty laced with longing. Berlin Flieger captures it. It is the interplay of light and darkness, the shifting balance between the two, that gives Middle-earth its depth, its mystery, and its power. The Balrog, the Shadow, and the Secret Fire, each play their part in this cosmic dance. That tension, making and unmaking, runs through every legend Tolkien told. The Balrogs are its starkest emblem, the will to annihilate, just because existence offends them. But here's the twist. We face our own balrogs today, forces that unravel what is good, from the destruction of nature to the rise of despair and cynicism. Gandalf's stand on the bridge isn't just about magic and monsters. It's a reminder. Even immortals must make mortal choices. Preservation demands sacrifice. Sometimes, order must face chaos head-on. There's some good in this world, and it's worth fighting for, Sam insists. That's the essence of resistance: creating, caring, and keeping hope alive, even when all seems lost. Each of us bears a spark of the secret fire, the power to nurture, to build, to hold the line against darkness. The Balrog falls, but the struggle never ends. Gandalf's fear teaches us the greatest enemy isn't just domination, but the mindless forces that would return all things to darkness. And that's why sometimes you have to face the shadow directly, because the flame of creation is worth the fight.